I want to show you guys a couple cool things about working with blends inside of Illustrator. There are three kinds of blends we can create. We can create a distance blend, which means we can kind of blend two objects and have copies put between and say, oh, I want them to be so far apart. We can say, let's put so many copies between these two. And then we can go in and create what's called a color blend, like this little whale here. So I'll show you the three different kinds. Kind of cool. So we're going to create a picket fence. If you guys ever have a cause to create, let's say, like buttons on a shirt or fence pickets, anything that repeats, railroad tracks, whatever, think about a blend. So I create two objects. I come to the blend tool. I double click on it. I tell it what kind of blend to be. Specified steps means how many copies do we want to put between these two. I'll click OK. I'll click on the first object. Click on the second object. Now you guys got to be careful. There's fills inside of these. Otherwise, sometimes it won't let you do it. And there we go. Now the great thing about the blend is we can always go in and change things up. So if I come with it selected to the blend tool and double click on it, I can tell it to have more steps or less steps, turn on preview, and there we go. I can tell it to be smooth color instead, which literally in this case, you guys, is kind of lame because they're the same color, it won't do much. If I go and say specify distance, I can say I want them to be 30 points apart, that kind of thing. So that's kind of neat. Let me go back to specified steps and put, let's say, 9 in there and click OK. Now we can also go to the selection tool and resize this whole thing if we want to. We can go in and edit each individual post here, individual picket on both ends, not the ones in the middle, by double clicking like a group. Click on one of them, resize it, let's say, and you can have a blend kind of like this. Let me undo that. We can also go in and rotate it if we want to, which is kind of cool. And look what it does with the blend. It's kind of interesting the way this works. Anyway, the other thing we can do is, if you notice, we've got a line or a path right in the middle here. We can edit this thing. So if I click on it, you can shorten it, you can rotate it, you can do whatever you want. If I want to go in and, let's say, make a curve, I'll go to my direct selection tool, click on one of the points, turn it into a smooth point, let's say, up here, and just go in and start editing. It's pretty neat. Now, if you don't want bunching over here, you might want to take this end point over here, make it a smooth point as well, and then just go in and start editing. We can also use our pen tool to add points out here, do whatever we want. Really pretty neat. All right, let me go back to my selection tool, double click to get out of here, move this up. The great thing about blending between objects as well is the fact that you can blend between colors. So even if you're doing a specified step or something like that, you could have one picket be white and one picket be red. Here's what I mean. If I double click on one over here, click on it to select it, come to the swatches panel, and let's say I fill it with another color, you'll see what it does. Pretty neat. All right, now with the blend selected, if I double click to get out of here, click on it again, you'll see that if I come under object and go to blend, we can also go in and do something called release or expand it. Now release literally means just give me the two fence pickets and the line. Don't give me the ones in between. It's so you can kind of start over or do something else with them. Expand is going to just turn them into a bunch of shapes. So I click expand, you'll see it's just a bunch of pickets right there. Anyway, that's working with specified steps or even specified distance. Now what I want to do is show you guys the color blend. This one's pretty useful. So the way a color blend works is we draw two shapes. And usually you guys, if you take a look here, I've got something like this. Let me go into outline mode, Control Y or Command Y. I've got two paths that I drew, and I just made one a stroke color and the other a different stroke color. And I actually put a blend between them. So I'll come out of outline mode here. I'll go to my pencil tool. I'll just draw a nice line here. I'll put a fill on it, or excuse me, a stroke. Stroke is going to be a little bit better, of yellow, let's say. I'll duplicate it, and I'll put a stroke of, let's say, blue or something on it. And of course, I didn't duplicate it, I just dragged it. So let me duplicate it by Alt or Option dragging, and put yellow back on it. You'll see I've got two lines. Now if I go to my blend tool over here, and I double click first, and tell it to be smooth color, click OK. What I'll do is I'll just go to each path, right in the middle of the path, you guys, not the ends. I'll go to each path and click one, then click the other when you see the plus, and you've got yourself a smooth color blend. Now let me undo that. I'm going to go to Edit Undo here, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually show you something else. We can create some really cool effects here by coming to the endpoints of lines or objects, or even corner points on, let's say, the picket fence here. If I come to the endpoint here and click right here, you'll see an X show up in a black box, and then come to the other endpoint, let's say on the opposite side, and click. Look what it does. You're telling it to blend these different points together. This, you guys, can lead to some really cool things. You can create three-dimensional shapes, etc. Anyway, let me undo that. I'm going to go back to just a typical blend here, the color blend, and show you guys how I did the whale. So I'll just click on the first path, click on the next path. There's my blend. I'll just move it down here. You guys, we can rotate it, do whatever we want to do. That's awesome. I'll put it behind the whale, select the whale's shape, shift-click, right-click on top of both and say, let's make a clipping mask. And that just kind of puts them inside the whale. Now, if I want to edit, I want to actually edit and make it so that the color follows the contour a little better. So if I double-click on the whale, I can get back to the blend here, and I'll click on that. If I double-click on the blend and then come in there, I can go to each path here, go to the direct selection tool, and just start to kind of work on it a little bit, work it around the fish. Now, what I probably would have done initially, you guys, is make it so I could see the whale a little better. I'm going to double click outside and take a look, and you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if we go into outline mode, that's another way to be able to do this. I could just go to my direct selection tool here, or excuse me, my selection tool rather. And if I come to the whale and double click, come on here, you can see I can click on the blend. Just go to my direct selection tool and start clicking on these and follow the path here, follow the whale. You can see this is another way to do it. This is actually a little bit better way because you get a little more control, figure out where you're going to put things, etc. That way we can make it so that the whale and all that sort of thing is following a little bit closer to what we want. Anyway, whoops. All right, let me go out of outline mode, double click out, go out of outline mode again, come on now, and there's our blending. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys some really cool things we can do with blends, between color blends, shape blends, using distance blends. There's tons of stuff. And one last quick thing, this is actually pretty cool, something that you don't see too often, I don't think. Let me put a color inside of this. I'm going to blend between a bunch of different shapes. I'll just make another shape here, make another shape over here, let's say a star, and I'll fill it with a different color. Now you can create a blend that blends between objects, something like this. Watch. If I go to my blend tool, double click on it, I'm going to say instead of smooth color, specified steps, click OK. I can click on one object, click on another. You guys, we can keep going with a blend. So if I go to the next object and click, and then come back around, you'll see a circle on my cursor here. I can create a closed path, which is kind of neat. That way we can go in here, and if I double click, I can take each one of these shapes and start to edit it, move it around, do whatever we want to do. It's really pretty cool. Anyway, this is what working with blending is like within Illustrator, so I just wanted to give you guys a few tips, a few things you can use to work with blends.